Big show tonight here on CTS. Lots going on in the world of NFL all day. We are going to dig into it. Jack making some big moves with a purchase over the weekend. We have Dave Feldman, VP at Dapper Labs and NFL all day, going to be swinging by to tell us more about the platform and what they have planned for us this year. And then Gary Hartman from ETR, a big collectible head. He's been browsing the marketplace. He has some best buys for us all tonight on CTS. NBL, you're back in the club. It's been another few weeks. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. I got all dressed up tonight just for the club, and I am excited to be back. I was hoping that the intro might have been updated for our new American Doll lookalikes.
Thank you so much for reminding me of that, because I do need to pull those up. Our friend put together some new updated ones of these. It's Medicine Skulls on Twitter. Just absolutely incredible work. You obviously saw the original version in the intro. He did update them, and you're right, I probably should work on them. So we have the Hot Boy Summer edition here, and we can go through these individually. We have me, my Fantasy Life fedora, my randomizer skateboard, a Zero RB shirt, week 17 correlation doll, not sold in stores. Nice best ball references here. We have the Jack, the tendies here, chicken tendy doll, not sold in stores. I mean, incredible. And then if we hop down here, we have Peter Jennings in his Colorado State bucket hat. Golf course voyeur, of course. Did you see the clip of when he was being a horn dog about Christian McCaffrey's girlfriend, Mike?
Yes.
It's just so good. I'm sure Ashley loves the portrayal of her husband as a voyeur. We do have MBL here. How do you feel about Levitan lives in my head rent-free?
It's pretty accurate. So I'll say this. Since the Levitan match, I've really ramped up my tennis playing, and I'm extremely ready for a rematch. It seems like Levitan is playing well, but every night before I fall asleep, I think about how I lost that match, how Levitan surprised me, and I need my vengeance. And so, Levitan, I know you're watching. I know you always watch. I'm ready for you. Come back east. We need our rematch.
Yeah, and did you hear about his big win that he had versus Brandon Adams recently?
As a plus 400 dog. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he was mentioning it on some podcasts. He was grinding this one. He was working hard. It seemed like he was putting in the hours training for that prop bet.
I'm ready for him. I played with Dink a few weeks back. Dink is a great tennis player, so that's good practice for me. But I've been going like 3 or 4 times a week this summer. I'm still, I got a few pounds to lose, but I've been playing a lot.
How do you feel about this outfit choice? Is this something you would wear on the courts?
It's a lot. I think the hat is fantastic. The top, normally I would say it's a little much for me, but here I am in my linen button-down shirt for the club, so maybe it's appropriate. And look, I'm in the suburbs now. It's country club chic.
I love it. And then we, of course, have Andy here, the Spanish Andy doll. I love the stripey, the mustache. We got the sunglasses, the travel pillow here. And Andy is famously not on vacation, Mike. He is working.
Yeah, not on vacation. But these are fantastic. The level of detail and care and just attention to what's going on with each of us, it's amazing.
Yeah, shout out to Medicine Skulls here in the chat. Just absolutely fabulous work. I don't even know what the original inspiration was for this. I don't know if we made a reference on the show, but I hope this series never ends, because it truly is absolutely incredible there on the back. So shout out to @Medicine Skulls for all of his great work here. I was even doing my show with my friend Chris Spaggs, Splash Play, and he was jealous. He's like, why is no one making American Boy doll art of me in this show? And I was like, well, this is just a very special show, and it warrants this kind of treatment.
We have a dedicated fan base. We have people who respect and appreciate what we do up here, and that's something that other shows work toward and strive toward.
That's right. And like I mentioned at the top, we have a big all-day theme show for you guys tonight. We, of course, are only a few weeks away from the start of the season. NFL all-day marketplace starting to get pretty exciting. What are your kind of thoughts, Mike? I know you're obviously more of the NBA head, but with your floaty and with your kind of Dapper allegiances, you got to be pretty excited about all the big things happening over on all day.
Okay, so we've never really covered this in great detail. I used to be a huge NFL guy. So Jennings,
Yo,
come on in. Let's do a little
No,
Jennings
keep going. We can bring him in and talk to him in a second.
I haven't seen Jennings in so long. I'm excited. I lose my train of thought. What's up, Jennings?
yo, it's great to see you, buddy. Missed
too.
you. I wish you were here for the tennis. Levitan NBA.
Levitan, what a win!
I know Levitan got a lot better, like a lot better.
I need that rematch. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, he really improved. It's quite remarkable. And Brandon played poorly coming off elbow surgery and just didn't have. He probably played like a 2 out of 10, and I thought Adam played 11 out of 10. I mean, he really improved.
I thought Levitan had a calf injury. He healed up from that.
Yeah, he was playing basketball and like couldn't even walk, so that made me a little nervous. But yeah, Adam did well, and it was a lot of fun. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Doing great. We were just reviewing the latest American Doll renditions, the Hot Boy Summer versions. Did you see those?
What are these?
Wait, did you not see yours, Peter?
Oh,
okay, I'll pull.
yeah.
Oh, I did see those. Those are sweet. Those are sweet. I had the tweet. Yeah, that was awesome.
All right, the fact that we got a reference to your CMC Olivia Culpo voyeur story in this ball feed is just, the binoculars are just.
The binoculars are a great touch. That's
you
amazing.
actually seem like you would unironically have like some little binoculars out with you on the golf course, though. Not to creep on women, but to, find your balls or whatever.
You have a rangefinder. You have like a laser.
Sorry, a rangefinder.
Yeah, those
there
things
you
are
go.
sweet.
That
would be
Mike,
odd.
what were you saying, Pete?
If you used a rangefinder to look into people's backyards, that would be maybe inappropriate.
Yeah,
I bet. Mike, what were you saying about all day right before Pete?
I was going on my NFL rant where I feel like you guys view me as like not that big of a football fan. I used to be like religious about football until probably like, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. And I don't know if it was like just replay going nuts. I thought that it seemed like a small thing, but what I really liked about football was just the excitement of like exciting play just happened. And now replay took a lot of that away from it, where it's like, okay, exciting play just happened. First of all, let's check the field for flags. The flag thing got a little out of control. And second of all, like, we don't even know if this is going to stand. Let's go to commercials. Let's bring in the ref. And it's just like really slowed down the action, made it pretty choppy. And so I didn't love all those changes. And I know this is like counter to what we're driving toward all day and like a lot of the shows and everything that you guys are into, but I don't love fantasy football. And I feel like I know. I don't love fantasy football, and I feel like people are like super focused on fantasy football when they're watching instead of like the game itself and the teams themselves. So it just moved so much away from like the football that I liked and enjoyed that I've like fallen a little bit out of favor with it. And now I have no idea what's going on. I remember when I was hanging out with Belair like a year ago, and I didn't know who Trey Lance was. Like after he got drafted 3rd overall or something, I was like, this is horrible. I know. It's not going to go over well with the chat, but this is the reality.
You had me with the first part of your take. I definitely agree. Watching an island game with the commercials and how drawn out it is just absolutely miserable. I barely watch any football that isn't Red Zone for that exact reason. But you lost me when you said you don't enjoy fantasy football.
No, but that's the thing. The solution to it is a problem for my second issue, where it's like, I don't really care about like some of these other games. I'm not just like watching for the fantasy stats.
Yeah. But I mean, in a way, don't you think, Mike? I mean, the whole, collectibles and stuff is almost a variation of fantasy in a way too, where it's this secondary market that allows you to speculate and benefit from, being ahead of certain performances. I feel like there should be overlap there for you.
I don't know. Like I like fantasy baseball for the reasons you're describing, because you like there's not.
These takes, you're just burying yourself in a hole.
I'm not. Fantasy baseball, I feel like, is all the good parts about fantasy without the bad parts. Where like I don't like when I'm at a bar watching a football game and like the ball gets to the 2-yard line and it isn't like I'm excited for a touchdown. It's let me check my league to see if I'm playing the guy who has the potential vulture for a touchdown here.
So again, that's not my relationship with fantasy. So how I think of the stuff, and I've done this for like 6 or 7 years. I never look at who my opponents have. I'm rooting for my guys. I have my portfolio of guys, my DFS exposures, my favorite players on my teams, and I'm rooting for those guys. And then you just see how the chips fall at the end of the day. Is that how you do it, Pete?
Yeah, that's kind of for the most part how I do it. I know that I'm fading like some chalky guys, and there's certain things like because I have all the betting and stuff too, which is not. We haven't even discussed all the betting, and it's so funny because I have so many things going on. I'm like, I think that was good for me. I know that was great for me. That was really bad, and it's just like a constant like stream of stuff. And yeah, it's fun. Like some of the island games, I agree. They get drawn out. But if you have a lot of action on one side or some props or showdown, like every play is super fun. And fantasy baseball, that's the worst take ever. I mean, I used to grind baseball. My $1 million win was baseball, but it is so slow. And man, it is just the epitome of a grind. But I do like going to baseball games.
I love it.
If like you guys were in town and like, hey, let's go to a baseball game tonight, I'd be so jazzed to like go hang with you guys, drink beers, and like whatever, watch the game. But just like the atmosphere of a ballpark is awesome.
Agreed. This is what I think it is, Mike. Pete, we know Mike has a very addictive, all-in type of personality, and he knows that he needs to keep fantasy at bay. Because if it got its hooks in him, he would be devoting 10, 20, 30 hours a week to doing the same stuff we do. That's the real issue, Mike. I know it.
I think the real issue, and you guys are going to hate this even more than everything I've said already, is some of the new formats maybe this doesn't apply, but traditional fantasy football, there's like way too much of a luck factor where in fantasy baseball, I'm in a league of 10 people. Only 4 people have ever won a title in like 12 years. In fantasy football, it's like anyone can win any year if you happen to get the end of the second round.
Yeah, because only freaking losers are able to grind a full season-long fantasy baseball team. That's why the 4 guys. Yeah,
in an intense league, everyone tries, but some people are better.
That's fair. There is more. Like I will agree. Like a season-long basketball or baseball league, like there's so much skill, and I do think that that's the case for NFL as well. But there is more variance, more luck, and injuries are just so hard to overcome in football. But that's why you got to play best ball. I mean, you draft and you're done. Have you heard of Underdog?
Not sure.
Yeah, have you heard?
Well, Mike, too, I think that goes one of the things about these games, and we kind of see it with poker right now, which is trending toward being nearly solved. And in even aspects of DFS where you're getting dusted if you're not using, the best tools and simulations and all this stuff, where you're trying to balance that skill game element with luck, because luck is what allows people to want to keep coming back over and over and again to know that they actually have a chance to win. So I do think it's a fine line, but I think that's the beauty of like the Millie Maker too. It's like a lot of luck goes into it and people chase that, but there's still an edge to be had for the real grinders.
I think like best ball, Millie Maker, that kind of stuff is fun and like big tournaments, but just like traditional 10, 12 team fantasy league, snake draft, that kind of stuff. I don't love that fantasy football experience.
All right. We have a few guests in the hopper. One less exciting, Jack. One very exciting, Dave Feldman from Dapper. Jack and Dave, welcome to the show.
Boys, what is up? What an honor. I've been watching you guys for a while. So happy to finally be in the club.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Dave, I mean, like, what is your official title? I go to your Twitter bio and it's like, I need a Rosetta Stone to figure out what you're doing.
So I'm the GM of NFL All Day, our new NFL digital collectible experience. And I also oversee our sports marketing, our SVP of Sports Marketing. So smart brand marketing, all the stuff we do with our athletes, some events, experiences, stuff like that. So a lot going on, but exciting times.
And what were you doing previously to joining Dapper?
So I was at the NFL for 7 years, most recently as a VP of social marketing there. So all the stuff you saw across NFL Network, the Checkdown, which is like our pop culture accounts, and then all the social that we did with all of our leagues, with all of the teams, all the players. We had like over 1,200 players that we partnered with throughout my tenure there. So yeah, football very much in my background, sports my background. Before I was at the league, I was actually at Major League Baseball for 7 years as well. So I only know sports. That's my thing, but really excited to be here with you guys.
What ultimately drew you? I mean, going from NFL, obviously one of the biggest brands and institutions in the world, to this upstart, quickly growing company in this wild west of a new space. What made you think that this was the right move for your career?
To be honest, like I fell in love with Top Shot, like you all did, and it just made sense to me. And like I just felt like a perfect fusion of things that I love. Like I was a huge NBA fan, huge NFL fan, of course. I was into crypto for a little bit of time, and I was kind of just like ready for that new thing. Like I've been at the NFL for 7 years, and I was just like, hey, like if there's an opportunity somehow to work here, I think it'd be an incredible experience. Like I fully like so believe in NFTs and all the great work you guys have done to like help evangelize it, and it just like made sense. And luckily, one of my colleagues, I should say, Katie Tedman, I had worked with at the NFL, and so I had been talking with her, and she connected the dots, and here I am.
That's awesome. And you're about a year deep into your tenure
Longer.
there?
I'm like a little over a year and a half. Pretty wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
A year and a half. Okay. So you were like like a month into the Top Shot boom when you started?
Yeah, I joined I was a classic Bales acolyte. So, read the article, listened to you guys, and here I am.
And you do say you send 5% of your monthly salary to Bales as kind of a kickback?
Exactly. That's part of the negotiation as a whole.
And how's it been going? What's the audit here, 18 months later? I mean, how are you feeling about the move and where you're at?
It's awesome, guys. I'm super excited. We just launched to open beta on the NFL product this past Thursday. A lot of positive energy in the ecosystem. We have a big NFL all-day influencer here in the club with us tonight, Jack Settleman. So no, it's really amazing momentum that we're seeing. A lot of positive chatter. I think I've seen some really big Tom Brady sales, really big Aaron Rodgers sale recently. And we'll have a nice announcement coming up very shortly that I think should inspire some more. So very excited for that.
Jack, speaking of big sales, are you what he's referencing there? You were dropping the Dapper piggy bank over the weekend, I saw.
It looks like I spent a little bit of my ETH. I spent a little bit of the kickback from the VIP program on it. So keeping that in the Dapper ecosystem. Yeah, I think I was actually going through, I check in on the market every once in a while. There were moments that on Top Shot specifically that, when back in the day when prices were just haywire, I was like, oh, I would love to own that. So now that they've come down, from there and they're more reasonable, I always like to check in. I actually saw Andy's Zion Cosmic for like 10 grand. And I was like, I think Zion's going to have a great year. It's a rookie bad. And then it was 10 or 14 or something. And then I go and flip over to all day and I'm like, Tom Brady, 29 legendary, for 17.5. And then the next lowest was listed for like 33. And I'm like, there's a really good chance that, it's Tom Brady. Like Zion Williamson has, he didn't play last season. Tom Brady could never play again. And he's probably the best player ever for the next century. So I love all day. Once they added a Lamar Jackson moment, I was in. They added the LJ moment, and they got my money. What I'm scared of is a Lamar legendary or a rare, because then we'll be in trouble.
Well, whatever you guys over there, Dave, are looking for a little extra liquidity, what strings you need to pull, apparently.
Yeah. Is it just Lamar? Are we going the whole Ravens back here?
So,
Dobbins? What are we
no Mike Davis moments, Dave, if that's what you're hinting at. All right.
Well, Mike Davis RB2 for the first 4 weeks.
Stop. Did you get a rare mixed in there?
Yeah. So I think I'm probably the dream collector for as an example case, right? They dropped the Lamar Jackson moment. He's my favorite player for my favorite team. I filter by Ravens, and then being a big Ravens fan and wanting to collect something, I will always remember where I was for Justin Tucker hitting that field goal. The funny story is I have this water bottle off Amazon. I spiked this water bottle before the play because Lamar actually took a delay of game that they didn't call. It would have been a 71-yarder. They would have had to throw a Hail Mary. And I was like, we just lost the Lions. So that was like a really cool moment. And that's one of the coolest moments to me on the platform. So yeah, you can invest in Tom Brady and I'll hold that forever. I can buy Lamar Jackson. And then the fandom side of me is like Justin Tucker, one of the coolest plays, in Ravens history.
Yeah, and I remember that Tucker play well because unfortunately, I don't know if you guys can see. Nope, wrong way. Yeah, Lions fan over here.
Oh my God.
Wow.
From Detroit. Guys, Barry's all I got. All right. Let me
Calvin
have
Johnson.
Calvin, of course.
Jared Goff.
I'm excited for the team this year. But yeah, that game, the Tucker field goal game was a wild game, and that field goal never should have happened.
Yeah, exactly. So
Lions are going to be legit good this year, I think.
It's terrifying when people say that. Like I don't know how to put it. Like it's we anytime we have like positive momentum and positive expectations, like something horribly goes wrong.
Well, let's talk about that. You guys swapped out Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds for DJ Chark and Jamison Williams. I mean, just starting right there is just
like Amon-Ra is nasty, Hawkinson, Swift. Like there's a lot of like really exciting young players on the offense. The defense, a little bit of a different story. We'll see how Akuda bounces back from injury. And like, I think Hutchinson's going to be amazing, but it's just like exciting that we feel like we're building and there's like actually like we're going somewhere versus kind of treading water for
both Detroit teams. Basketball too. It's like you guys have this mixture of fun, young, exciting players. You don't have a superstar at like maybe the positions that matter most, but you could.
I mean, like, I'll respectfully disagree. I think Cade Cunningham is like going to be
not today though.
Not today.
Not today.
He's going to be that. I hope.
Well, I said the Lions might be legit good, like 500, and just to be clear.
Yeah.
But that would be over their win total. I think their win total is like 5.5, 6.5, something like that.
They're the most bet. So I've heard the most bet win total.
I saw that.
Over.
Never a good sign.
Never. I mean,
that actually is a bad sign. Yeah.
What happened to the Browns like a couple years ago? Like when Freddie Kitchens took over full time and Baker was supposed to be incredible. Like it's just like very eerily. They're on Hard Knocks. Like it's the same situation.
The Amon-Ra St. Brown Hard Knocks ADP bump has been killing me because I had been enjoying gobbling him up at like the 5-6 turn, and now he's just like inching up, and I feel like he's gonna be a late 4th round pick by the time Hard Knocks is done.
I mean, he comes out with like his Billy Madison like people to kill this or whatever it was, and just like naming all the receivers that went ahead of him. But he's amazing. Like he's such like he's everything you would want in like a young polished receiver. Like I feel like he's like off the charts in the Sean Siegel, 0 RB model.
There you go. We got to get a Sean Siegel.
I meant to ask, did the check from Dave clear to change this from Club Top Shot to Club All Day, or is that for?
Well, what happened is he did send the check over, and then I was getting in all these battles with engineers and surveyors. They said CAD was actually already, the CAD software was trademarked. And so we had just run into issues with that. So we are keeping it as CTS of the club for now.
Wow, what a niche joke.
My dad was a civil engineer, so I know about CAD software. What can I say? Well, speaking of like NFL All Day and Top Shot, one question, I told the Discord that you were coming on tonight, and people were wondering about kind of the relationship between NFL All Day and Top Shot and how much of like idea sharing and roadmap sharing is going on. Are you guys trying to do things in tandem? Are you on an island? How does that all work?
Yeah, no, honestly, it's kind of a mix of both. So like I have for like a high most part, like an independent team that's working on the NFL product, just as there's an independent team working on the NBA product. There are some like overlapping skills that like do work across sports. But for the most part, these are very much individual teams. But what's great is that like we have amazing collaboration as like leadership, like Janie and myself and Malik on the UFC side, where we have like a lot of communications to kind of learn of like what's working, what's not working, things that they're testing, things that we're testing, so they can kind of take notes and see like how to best proceed and like where to double down, where to abandon certain ideas, like and so forth. So I think we have a pretty strong like flying formation right now where we're able to lean on each other to like fail fast and learn quickly to make sure that we're making the most of our respective opportunities.
And you have to feel a little bit, you've clearly seen how things have played out with Top Shot. People are very vocal with the things that upset them, what they think should be done differently. I think you could argue that Top Shot has fallen into some traps where they've listened to the vocal minorities and been very reactive. Like, how are you thinking about it? Because I almost feel pressure for you coming into this season of how badly I want you guys to execute well with this full runway of a full season. Like, where are you at with just thinking about kind of the execution risk, knowing that the hopes are so high for everything right now?
Yeah, no, look, the hopes are high, but our expectations are high. And I think we have the luxury of learning from a lot of like what Top Shot has done in the past to help inform some decisions that we're making on the NFL side. And we owe a huge credit of gratitude for all like the amazing work and the pioneering that Top Shot has done to launch this space. But yeah, like, look, I think we're really excited. I think there's going to be some feature announcements before the season that will really kind of excite people of how to kind of play NFL all day in tandem with enjoying like the NFL like live game experience. And I also think as a whole, I'm like, look, this has been top of mind like since the day I started, is that like we take scarcity like super seriously. Like this is we've held true to that. Like I think like all of our mint counts across the board have been at a very I think measured number, conservative number, honestly, if anything. And we've adhered to that, and we'll continue to adhere to that. Like we very much will be minting to demand and not to like projected growth or anything along those lines. And I think that's something that like we will be taking a very, very close eye on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis to ensure that the health of our economies is stable, and not just stable, but like fruitful. And I think that's something that like I personally take really seriously and will be top of mind throughout the entire experience.
How are you guys thinking about curation heading into this year? Because I know you've probably gotten all the messages and ads about these random defensive players or these plays that aren't as exciting as maybe people would hope a moment would be. I think that's been one of my big questions is like, can you guys make these moments feel like they're truly special, truly one of a kind, and not just an obligatory release to fill some arbitrary requirement?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Like we have an amazing moment curation team. And I think one of the earlier things that we announced like this off season is that our pack drop cadence might change a little bit this season. Where like I think last year, we spun up the product really quickly. We were only live in season for, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 weeks or so. And so we felt like, hey, like we should follow the cadence of the NFL season. So every single week there's a pack drop, just like every single week there's a big game. And I think what kind of moving away from an every week cadence allows us to be a bit more patient in our curation to make sure that, it's really tough if you're going week to week. It's like, okay, Justin Herbert had a really good throw. It's week 14. Is he gonna have a better throw week 17? Should we just use this for his rare right now? Like these are like the kind of like that's like the calculus that you kind of have to run. I think by kind of spreading the drops out a little bit more, we'll be able to make more informed decisions and more decisions that are like lean into just like pure, like that should only make our play quality even better. And I think our play quality is strong right now, but I think that it will only enhance that entire experience.
Will collectors get an idea of like how many rares, legendaries, commons each player will get before the season
for sure. That'll be in comms that we have before the season starts.
Okay, cool. I want to address a comment, Tony, and not to single Tony out because I'm sure a bunch of people would feel this way. I said shots fired at Top Shot. First of all, Dave works across all the platforms, and second of all, the question was how do they learn from like things that Top Shot has done? So I don't think that that's shots fired. I think that's a great learning, and I would hope that like you guys are conscious of where you felt like things could be done better. So I don't really think that's shots fired. I think everyone's excited to know that the mint count will be kind of built the way it should. And secondly, that moment curation will be taken much more thoughtfully.
For sure.
No. Yeah. The other thing too, I was always curious about like your guys' relationship with the NFLPA and stuff. Obviously people want the biggest names. I think there's probably a pretty direct correlation to offensive skill position players in fantasy, the guys people care about the most. How do you guys think about servicing the larger NFL player pool, how that works both in contract and in practice, just knowing that the truth is the demand isn't as high for defensive plays and punting plays?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question. I think we want to make sure though that there's a full fan experience, so that like, look, these are important positions for teams, but obviously we're going to be a bit more selective for some there's not going to be as many punters as there are quarterbacks. I think that's like kind of the nature of the beast. But like we have an amazing relationship with the PA. We have calls with them on the regular. We even have Dior Ginyard, who's oversees all of our athlete marketing for NFL All Day. He came from the PA, so we have really strong ties there. And Yeah, I think just like to answer your question directly, Peter, it's like it's an editorial decision that like we got to do what we think is best for the product and the best for the experience. And sure, we'll cross the gambit of positions, but you know we'll probably put a little bit more weight on on some more than others.
For sure,
I would buy
that
a
makes sense.
legendary of that Bills punter, whatever his name is, Matt.
Punt God? Yeah.
Yeah, punt god.
Yeah,
That guy.
gotta be in there.
I would buy a legendary.
No, but what's awesome is like kind of what Jack was saying earlier. Like the Justin Tucker kick is like a really memorable kick, especially for a Ravens fan. And I think like what's the beauty of NFL all day is like football fans are very tribalistic. Like if you're a Ravens fan, if you're a Chiefs fan, like there's so many like random, peculiar, but like really special moments that have happened in your respective franchise's history that are really important to you that may not be really important to that many other people. But like it holds such a special near and dear place to your heart as a fan that I think like we can bring to the product that will be really enjoyable and a really positive experience for all.
One thing, you know, I feel like it's been one of the most tentpole conversations we've had on the show over the past 18 months of this idea of a collectible versus utility, this idea of just collecting something because you love it versus, you know, interacting with the site regularly. Do you have any kind of thoughts on where, if you had a sliding spectrum on where you want NFL all day to land, you want it in between, you're servicing both? Because I do really think that's the push pull of the scarcity element, but also keeping people hyper engaged. Like, I don't know if there's an exact answer, and I'm curious where you guys are kind of falling on that right now.
No, it's a really great question. I don't know I have the perfect answer for that, to be honest. I think like we are somewhere in the middle, and I think that's a really great place to be where, look, we have amazing collectibles that are like cutting edge, look like high end as can be, that from like even just a passerby, they walk by and see like one of our moments, like, wow, like what is that? And I think that's like a testament to how like premium our product is from a pure aesthetic and collectability standpoint. And on top of like all like the commemorative, like just like, you know, some of the tribalistic emotions I referenced earlier that come with collectibles that we produce. On the second hand, like we're in a state where we are partners with the NFL, and we have partnerships with some of the biggest teams in the NFL. And as comes with that, like I think we have an amazing opportunity to validate fandom, to kind of like, you know, enhance the fandom experience by virtue through our product, whether it's through IRL events, like, you know, for kickoff with the Rams, or even this past NFL draft. I don't know if you guys saw, but like some of our biggest rookie collectors from this past year, we got them to walk on stage at Vegas to announce like 6 and 7 round picks, like amazing money can't buy experiences, which is a testament to our partnership with the league. And so like, sure, like I think it's really important to have these to kind of show that like, hey, like when you're signing up for NFL all day, like you can get closer to the league like you never before. You can get closer to the Rams or other teams like never before. But then, and separate from IRL events or, you know, experiences, like we have amazing digital rewards that we can provide as well, whether it's through packs or potentially like, you know, single player moment experiences, like similar to do in Top Shot from like flash challenges. Like there are rewards that we can create like that, and there'll be more that we announce. But I think it's got to be a mixture of both to kind of just keep activity at a high level, and also keep the dream of like, wow, like NFL all day can provide money can't buy experiences, like something that I can't get elsewhere. And I think that's really important to like kind of keep in people's minds, like when they join a product, when they continue to invest their time and emotion in the product, of like, wow, like this isn't the same thing. This isn't cards. This is something different. It's amazing on its own, but there's also several layers deeper that it can take me. And I think there's more work we need to do to refine that. I think we've learned a lot and we're on our way. And I think there's just so much opportunity.
P, I know that was, I was just going to say, P, I know that was your thesis for a lot of your early purchases, or not, sorry, thesis, but that was something you were looking forward to, was some of these access elements. Is that piquing your interest with all day? Have you made purchases, you know, with that line of thinking, or is it kind of a, you need to see it first kind of thing?
Oh, I love that. And I was just looking around kind of on Top Shot. So I think it's interesting. And that's what I think is a big advantage that Dapper and Top Shot now all day have, is the ability to get you those experiences that money can't buy. And I think that's what a lot of people are interested in. So to me, that's really cool. And I'm excited for the NFL season. I mean, I think last year, do you guys think last year was like the best season you can remember? I mean, that Bills Chiefs game was definitely the best game I've ever seen. And the playoffs was just absolutely outrageous. And I feel like this year there's so much hype on so many teams. So I think it's going to be pretty sweet.
I think it's a lot a lot of it owed to the NFL and the social team. They were definitely lagging behind in the NBA. The NBA was, highlights everywhere, NBA, Twitter, all that stuff. Check Down, which has done a great job growing over the last couple of years. But like today, main feed on Instagram, and I nerd out on this type of stuff because I have work in it, but like they posted all the TikToks cross-platform, like something that NFL just would have never done. They would have done Countdown to NFL, all that stuff. And so I think it's like building up around the game. Like people were watching the pro-ams in Seattle, right, for the NBA. The NFL was never touching off-season stuff. And I think they've done a really good job. And that's all equating to a league where they're finally highlighting the skilled players. And now it feels like, especially because we play fantasy, there's like 3 or 4 offenses we don't want to touch in fantasy. So you're like, you kind of are in on 28 teams. You're like, oh, this team, the Lions could be good. Like these other teams that traditionally you're like, oh, I don't really want to watch that. So I think the season's going to be exciting. But Dave, future of fandom, I know I'm sure you have a company answer, tagline, all that stuff. But like, what does that mean to you? Like, because I think one of the things that we learned early on, right, MBL and Jennings, they were huge collectors and they were looking for different experiences. And then you have the everyday fan who wants to come to the site every single day. It's more for utility. Like, what are the kind of future of fandom? What's that mean to someone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of what I was saying earlier, where like we can bring you closer to the game that like no one else can. And I think like even on Top Shot, like the night before the NBA draft, we had some of our top rookie collectors playing knockout in 1-on-1 with Paolo Banchero, like the #1 pick in the draft. Like these are crazy things that like what other brand or company is able to do that? What other collectible experience can do that for you? And I think like there's fortunately like there's no shortage of amazing ideas that we can do to do stuff like that. I think what we need to figure out is how to do some of that at scale and how to make it feel like it's not just a random drawing that we're doing. And so like, wow, we did something amazing for 15 people. Like, sorry for the rest of the 1,000 or whatever, but like, hey, like these 15 got something incredible. So like those are things that we're constantly thinking about, how to make it feel more attainable in a more like literal sense. And I think, but look, from like as a whole, these are only types of events and ideas and experiences that we want to double down on.
I thought the Top Shot convention idea, which didn't materialize the way some people thought it would, and it seems like it will in the future, was a nice concept that could, I don't know how many people, but maybe 10, 20,000 people. If you take over a stadium, take over an arena or something like that, could be a really good time. Throw you or throw AJ into a dunk tank, have some contests, have some giveaways.
Why do people want to throw Dapper employees in a dunk tank? But what's up with that?
It's like a love-hate thing. It's like we love you guys, but we also want to dunk you into a dunk tank.
Oh, wow. Should talk to my wife. Yeah, no, that I think
that's good. One question I have for you, Dave. It seems like somewhat anecdotally, but like also, I don't know, I've been around Dapper sports world for a while, that the NFL players seem more, or you guys are really good at your job, they seem more organically interested in all day than where it seems like NBA players are right now. Do you think that's the case? And how do you think you guys on the NFL side have been able to accomplish that, whereas the NBA side has been, it seems to be less organic recently? Outside of maybe Channing Frye, who's the man.
Look, I think we're really excited when any NFL player wants to show interest in our platform. I think Dior's done an amazing job with some of the relationships he's already had to kind of onboard them into the NFL all day experience. To be honest, I think like from the most simple answer is that there's so many more NFL players and prior NFL players in existence than there are NBA players from a sheer numbers, that like we have a luxury of tapping into a well of 2,000 people versus 400 people like that. And like those 2,000 also churn at a much faster rate than the 400 do. And so like, just from a pure numbers game, like it's a lot, it's a much bigger well to draw from. And so I think like, yes, we're doing the best job we can. I think we're making a lot of nice progress here, but I'd be lying if like, that's not a huge factor here.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, but it's been awesome to watch. Like, the players kind of post and seem genuinely excited. It's really cool to see. And then obviously the kind of media blitz you guys did, I think it was last week, that was just incredible. I'm sure you guys were dying, just waiting to tell everyone about that for a while. So it was nice to get it out in the open.
No, thanks. No, we were really excited about it. I think the Mahomes commercial turned out really nicely. And then just seeing like the energy in the community and just elsewhere of just like, wow, like this, we've been in closed beta for so long that like when we took our swing to kind of get out, like it seemed like it landed. And now that was just like really, really nice to see.
I feel like, the place I would love to see all day end up is, the NFL is a very events-based thing. Fantasy is a very events-based thing. There's a rhythm and a cadence to the NFL schedule with Monday Night Football, your final sweats, and then you're getting to waiver mode, and then we're setting DFS lineup. Like, I would love to find NFL all day, find that slot in there with the way we all interact with fantasy and football in the NFL. And I don't know what that answer is for you guys with pack drops or whatever, but I feel like there's a spot for you guys to be within that mix.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think we have some really exciting plans to help bring that to life.
I guess one question along the lines of general football landscape. So you've emphasized at times like fantasy being tied into all day. How do you think about like fantasy football being tied into all day and utility and all that? How do you think about how, the variety of all day moments that like players have multiple moments and different scarcity and different tiers creates a kind of complicated fantasy landscape versus the kind of pure play Yahoo, ESPN, and whatever other offerings are out there. Underdog, sponsor, Underdog.
I think Rainmakers with DraftKings is probably
So how do you guys think about competing with that? Is it something where you guys think you'll offer a different service or try your best to mimic that and just kind of we have a captive audience, they'll play this version of it, or you're kind of thinking through it?
Yeah, first, I'm not very familiar with that product. I guess I'll have to look that up a little bit more. But
Nick doesn't like it. That's
I'm kidding. Look, obviously, we're very familiar with like what's going on in the landscape and something that we're keeping a close eye on. But look, I think we found something really powerful in challenges and flash challenges across products that look, and we know they're not for everybody, right? Like I think like MBL, I've heard like, you've talked on this exact podcast or this exact show, like, then they might be too much or like, it's a distraction or whatever it might be. Like it's totally fair points. I do think NFL, like knowing how much of a beast fantasy is, that there is a desire there to kind of interact with the game, to interact with collectibles that's kind of tied more to live action. And so I don't think what we're going to be doing is fantasy. I do think we'll be able to do stuff that makes you feel close to the game and makes you want to watch the game because of your moments. And I think I'll be able to explain that a lot better when I can, but hopefully that gives you enough guidance of like where we're seeing the vision going.
And I will say our friends over at Own the Moment, I know they're going to have a crossover fantasy game with you guys. I'm trying to tee you up here.
No, you did. I totally blew it. Like I think what Justin and TJ have done, we're really excited that, that of all things that they want to build a third-party product on top of ours that I think should enhance our collectors experience. So no, like very excited for what they have cooking up. And I think that's also like the beauty of this space, and just like it's so early, but like it's a crazy thing to know that we live in a world where people can build things on top of other things to enhance that experience. Like that sounds crazy, and I guess like I probably did a really crappy job trying to like bring that to life, but like that's like I think like we're just seeing a glimpse of what this can mean in the future and what floaties kind of do. Like just like we're in like the first apps on an iPhone phase of the game here, and like it's really amazing to see where this is going, and I'm really excited about what Rumble's going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. And yeah, even thinking back to that idea of like you guys slotting in and like the same way you sweat a waiver wire bid in one of your fantasy leagues, like we want to be sweating being able to get one of these moments and knowing that I might miss out on it and I might get priced out because there's only so many of these, but I want that moment so bad because I have some kind of connection to it from the previous week's action. Like if you guys can get to that spot, I think you'll really be cooking.
No, fully agree. I think there's a lot to that. And I think, look, we're not going to figure it all out the first week or the second week, but I think that we have a pretty good vision. And I think we'll be able to learn very, very quickly to kind of help replicate exactly that type of experience.
With awesome. a lot of the language, obviously, team-centric, right? You get super fans, future of fandom, flash challenges. So you've got the utility, events, all that stuff. And I'd say there was a period of Top Shot where it was like collect what you love, which was pulled, I think, from sports cards a little bit. People are like my Tom Brady moment. the intent was actually an investment, right? It's real money. And I think sometimes that gets lost with people. From like a real money perspective, you don't need to give like insider trading tips, stuff like that. But how should, or is All Day a platform for investors, in your opinion? Doesn't have to be all for investors, for flippers, but like, are you guys conscious of that side as you're marketing all these other great things?
I mean, like 100%. Like this is undeniably a component like of who we are, of our product. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Like that this is part of of any NFT project. And so 100%, like, and that's why when I was talking about scarcity earlier, it wasn't in reference to anything else but us. Like this is such a core part of our user experience. And we know that like in order to reach fans, in order to reach the next like concentric circle of, going from like, digitally native crypto NFT enthusiasts, getting to the next level of fandom of like, collectibles, like trading cards, to fantasy, to DFS, to then to like broad fandom, like we need to stay true and make sure that this is a positive economic experience for people. So that like, that is a core tenet of what we do and what we think and how we think. And scarcity is like, is like tantamount to all of that. And so, yeah, like, I think like when obviously like we have to market it differently to different types of segments, but like that's a core part of who we are.
While we continue this conversation, I want to bring on our other guest tonight, Gary Hartman from ETR. We're going to talk with him a little bit even after we let you go, Dave, but I wanted to make sure he overlapped a bit in case he had any questions. He's been deep into the collectible space, has an awesome podcast over on the ETR network, Establish the Collection. But Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate to be in the club. It's great to be here. Dave, happy to overlap with you. Really excited about everything you guys are doing over at All Day, and I appreciate it.
No, likewise, man. I'm a fan of ETR, a fan of you. So no, and like I got my own fantasy questions. So hopefully, like we can really already started.
Yeah, I might be able to help out more there.
Know, Feldman's a low key, big time fantasy grinder. I've run into him at some live drafts and stuff. So how many drafts are you doing this year, Dave?
I'm doing like maybe like 8 or so.
Wow, you're sick.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Like you're to talk. But yeah, no, it's
I don't have a full-time job as the VP of Dapper Labs.
But no, fantasy, love fantasy. Grew up playing fantasy. Like it's the best.
Gary, I know I was listening to your guys' episode with Cody over the weekend, and you guys were pretty deep into the marketplace looking at some undervalued stuff. And we'll talk about that a little bit with you in a bit, but do you have any questions for Dave? Anything that's been top of mind for you now that you've been really kind of interacting with the marketplace lately?
Yeah, I don't think I have any specific questions top of mind, but just everything you've been saying over the last 10, 15 minutes about the future and what's to come this season is from an interactive standpoint, and to increase or enhance the fan experience. Like that has me excited because I'm definitely more of a boomer than everyone that's usually in this club as far as my background's in cardboard and everything like that. But Top Shot and All Day have definitely got me in the NFT streets, and like it's the perfect overlap of things that I love. So I'm really excited to be able to like expand out that experience. So just looking forward to hearing more from you.
So Dave, before we let you go, any teases? I mean, Dapper employees are famous for leaking breadcrumbs on shows like this, and not on a more mainstream messaging platform. You want to toss us something?
Yeah, look, I think we made some really big announcements this past week that has us really excited. I think has the community really excited and so forth. I think we'll be making another equally big announcement in the next few days. So I think that should be really exciting. I think you'll see, I think you'll see one of the, we've kind of been hinting that there'll be another historical drop before the season starts. And I think it'll be really exciting to see not just one, but I think 2 very important. Yeah, I'm really trying to make sure I don't ruin AJ's life right now. Really just make sure that we'll have some really iconic plays joining the ecosystem soon that I think will get people very, very excited.
And can I make one request, Dave, that I need so bad? And I have seen this on a couple Top Shot drops, but it's inconsistent. I desperately need an add to GCal function for any pack drops. I'm telling you, Dave, it will be, I line up. Yes, if there's a GCal function, I will forget if there isn't. I'm begging you for an ad.
What a Jack's text service.
I mean,
Yeah.
I unsubscribed from that the second he started trying to sell me like honey mustard sauce or whatever.
No, they raised the rates bad, and we were just down bad on there.
No, I think it's a really good one, Pete. I'll talk to the devs. We'll get on it. 100%.
Awesome.
Can I ask? I do have a fantasy question. There's some amazing.
Do it. Let's do the panel here.
I love
will
fantasy
feel
football.
He
so-
loves it. Yeah.
All right. So I have one league that's like everyone has like their most important league. I have one league that's like my most important league. It's pretty high stakes, and I have the 11th pick, 12 team league, and I think I share with one of my best friends, and we're like obsessed with always kind of just drafting for upside. Like we want to win. We're fine finishing last, but we want to like go for first. Like that's just always our mindset.
Good
And
shot.
so yeah, like we're really looking at like Swift and Barkley. Like I think they fit that profile really nicely.
Homer.
Yeah, of course. But one player that I'm like don't understand why he doesn't get more steam in the similar guard is Javonte Williams. I know we have Pete Jennings, Denver guy. We obviously Pete Overzet here. Like you live and breathe this stuff. Like to me, you can really tell if you believe that the Broncos are going to be a top 5 or so offense, which I do, and like Javonte has the whole profile that you would want in a bell cow back. If you can just tell yourself the story, like similar to Jonathan Taylor a year or two ago, that he can overtake his competition, like he could be an RB1, like or RB1 overall. Why am I crazy, and why am I the only one thinking that?
Share the underdog fantasy update from like dinner time.
I'll let Pete field this because I guarantee Pete's gonna be like, I was golfing with Javonte Williams' agent last week.
He was, but that's not how he knows.
No, the only active Bronco that's in the golf streets right now is the kicker, Brandon McManus. He's in the street, but yeah, I mean, I think it's reasonable. I mean, he's going like 22nd, 23rd overall in underdog, so it's not like he's that far off. I just think it's hard to take his role, and I think the offense can be very good. I think there's definitely some other players that have more upside, or not more upside, but just have a little bit more certainty, and that's kind of the argument for Barkley, Aaron Jones, even Alvin Kamara now. Like, who would you rather have, Javonte or Alvin Kamara?
Are you half or full?
It's half.
Yeah,
And so I am thinking more so for like the 14th pick, not for the first round. But like honestly, between Javonte and Kamara, I'd rather have Javonte. Because I can tell a story that Javonte is a top 3 running back this year. I don't see that story for Kamara.
Well, and to your point, I mean, on underdog, drafters are already on the same line of thinking you are. I mean, he's a mid to late second round pick in every draft, knowing that he's probably going to open the season at best in a 60-40 timeshare with Melvin Gordon because they see that same upside. And I'm with you. I think he's a smash. I want more of him. Yeah.
His talent is definitely a smash. My concern is in the red zone, are they going to throw? Like, is Russell Wilson going to throw? He's going to run a little bit more. Melvin Gordon, I still think, is a really good back. Like, of the backup running backs, obviously there's some high upside young players, but Melvin Gordon was prolific in college and had a good season last year. I still think he has something in the tank, but yeah, Williams is so talented. And the thing is, almost every running back is in like some big split. Like, no one is going to get 80%.
Saquon. Like that's kind of right. Him and Najee are the two that don't really have the split, I guess.
Yeah, they're talking about that Warren kid now for the Steelers.
But just to win the back. So I think Saquon, because he doesn't have that 60-40 split, right? He's more 80-20, 90-10 even. But I could totally see the argument that like Javonte over Swift, I know, that might hurt to hear, but like Jamal Williams is going to get a ton of backup work, possibly goal line carry. Same thing with Melvin Gordon, right? So top 5 offense or, whatever Detroit may be. But I would go Saquon over them.
All right, gentlemen, really appreciate the forum. Thank you all. Hope to come back soon. But no, really, it's such a treat for me. I watch you guys all the time for a really long time, and so just to kind of have this experience, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thanks,
awesome,
Dave.
Dave. Appreciate
Thanks
you
for
coming
coming
on. We'll check in with you later down the road here.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
All right, we'll see you. All right, Gary, we have you in the Thunderdome. First of all, what did you think of Jack's purchase? Did he get it in bad? Did you like his deal? Tell it to him straight.
No, I definitely like it. I was just looking at, and he's right. The next highest moment I think is somewhere
it's now
in the 20s
27.
already.
Yeah, it was the person
20,
dropped
28.
it down, but yeah,
almost 20.
That was like my FOMO moment. Like I literally was laying in bed early. I think it was Saturday or Sunday. I don't remember. and I was going through the marketplace, saw the Zion, jumped to, all day, saw the Brady, and I was like, holy shit, the next one's like 33K. And I'm not
Did you buy that on your phone laying in bed?
On my computer, but like I had like the exact amount of ETH in my MetaMask plus my all day credit. Like it was my last dollars until the VIP program ups me like $400 for spending $8,000 on Jalen Green moments. But I don't know. I think Tom he was a good player in his day. And I think there's upside.
You heard it here first from Jack. Tom Brady was a great player. Also, just to do some table setting, Jack mentioned that he ran into someone at the card convention. Can you guys confirm that it was you two? I had to be like, it sounds like it was Gary.
It was me. Yes. And it was nice to meet you digitally. Peter, it's nice to meet you as well. I've been listening to you forever. We were in 2 big dog drafts together today, I believe.
Oh, sweet. I'm grinding.
You were in 2 big dogs today, Jennings?
How rich.
Yeah. Dude, I've been I'm maxing that thing out.
You're doing 69 big dogs?
Oh, hell yeah.
No!
Good on you, man.
Come on, bud. I want to know. I want to get these rings. Look at these things, man. Come on.
Why don't you max out the Mastiff, you poor?
Like, I am. I'm maxing out the Mastiff. I'm maxing out the BBM3. I'm maxing out the big dog.
Wait, Ty, is that true? That's you actually maxing BBM3?
100%. Dude, I'm at like 115, 120, and I got like 10 or so.
I'm proud of you.
He's putting in 17K to win 100K in the big dog.
Amazing.
You're fucking sick.
I'm up to like 8 big dogs.
Dude,
and
I'm all in on just anything underdog. I am in. If you want I'm in all these Telegram chats. Hey, you want to fire it up? It works really well. I play with Gracie. I draft a little. It's pretty nice.
Pete, are you going to be in? I know ETR is going to be streaming a Mastiff, the 2500.
What do you think the odds that I'm in that draft are?
I mean, it has to be incredibly high.
100%. I am all in on underdog, man. I'm even doing DraftKings. I'm in the 2K over there. Way more underdog, but I'm in the best.
Jennings is like, aren't you guys all so excited for this upcoming football season? It's because he has 4,000 fantasy teams to sweat.
Dude, you guys should check it. Actually, I even got like a nice little. I'll put this in our chat, but a nice little memory popped up today too, and I'm just like, yeah, best ball is the fucking nuts. I'm obsessed with it. I really like it. It's like one of my favorite things to do. Period.
It is the fucking best. That really is.
Pull that up. Give me some clout here. And you remember Yosemite. This is what happened in the past. Look at this. I got first in the $25 and second in the high stakes that year.
Oh, 2018. Yes, this was why we were trying to
bingo. Come on. We're ready. We're just blasting, dude.
Hey, you know what? Can I say this once and for all, Pete? If I had 69 entries in the big dog, I'd win too.
Stake him. Hey, don't they do those staking sites? We can stake you.
I drafted a big dog team on Saturday. It was a very fun window because it was during the window when Khalil Herbert got carted off the field and he was falling in drafts. And I said, you know what? We had a Justin Fields team going. I said, I'm calling this fucking bullshit on Khalil Herbert getting carted off. Found out it was just cramps or whatever. Boom. Flash window sale on Khalil Herbert. 28 picks after ADP. Suck it, Jennings, and your 69 entries.
Buddy, you're going to win. And if you want the staking, I'm in. I will back you all day long. The more people firing, the better. It's glorious.
Gary, are you? Have we firing?
What? Yeah.
I was just going to ask if we've seen Jennings since the underdog race. Like, we didn't even get the full celebration from you live on stream.
He's just been at clubs having, women in scantily clad clothing, like bring out sparklers and champagne.
He's been wearing that shirt for 6 straight weeks.
Yeah, I just rotate out my underdog t-shirt. That's what I do.
Go ahead, Gary. Sorry.
I like crazy. Yeah, I only have like 12 BBMs left. I've gone a little too fast. And yeah, I'm like 8 or 9 big dogs in. I don't know how many more I'm going to go. But I'm not getting to 69. I'll tell you that much.
Wait, I need top exposures from Jennings and Gary. Who are your player takes? Because I apparently I learned from all these fucking influencers on Underdog, right? Or fantasy thought leaders, like, and they wear tank tops on this stream and shit. And they like are screaming, don't do player takes, correlate, week 17. So I posted a screenshot of a well-balanced fantasy football profile, and I'm getting absolutely ratioed by
Did
a
I
person
not come to your
did not wanna be
defense? Did I not come to your defense in the
with. Oh,
Menchies?
sarcastically.
What are you talking about? God.
And
said,
I
don't
just
come
want to
after
clear the air.
portfolio bros.
I want to clear the air. I did it on the ETR stream with Herzig today as we drafted a nice squad. I said, just because I have a well-balanced top half of the portfolio doesn't mean I'm not fading players, but I'm just not over-leveraged 28% on Cordarrelle Patterson like Herzig was. That's all.
Does he have 28% Patterson?
Yeah, he has a lot of Patterson.
That's a lot.
And zero Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
The tougher sell for you, Jack, is going to be convincing the general fantasy public that there's a purposeful intention to your smoothed out exposures.
Yeah, I could, if I had the most perfect drafts, 150 drafts. If someone else drafted 150, if Herzig and you and Jennings and Gary drafted 150 teams for me and I tweet out my exposure, it would still look like that. So with the replies and everything. So I've accepted, head of winning, target on my back. I'm not taking down BBM3, but maybe the Mastiff one day.
All right, we're going to let NBL go. I know you got to get running. NBL, it was great to have you come on here, say how much you fucking hate fantasy football.
Yeah, I'm so upset to be leaving during the fantasy football conversation. It's devastating. Jack, I think the issue is you're spread too thin between tendies and winning so much and Lamar Jackson and all-day big purchases. It's just hard to be dominant at everything you're doing right now.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you.
I know if you spent all your time focused on fantasy, you would too be a champion.
Oh, I'm gonna. I trust me. I have the what little band do you get on Underdog when you win? You get something, right? Goat horns or something. I got those shits.
You would know if you won more.
No, I haven't. I tied with like 59 other people T1, and I got him. I love. See you, Mike. I love Dave.
All right.
Later, Mike.
Later, fellas.
Dave is a true grinder because he hopped off the stream and then just wants to know. But because I'm not going to make you watch an hour stream on ETR's channel. The thesis was, he's bullish on Atlanta a little more than the public. In that range, he just thinks that Cordarrelle has the best profile, best situation. It's in a range where you're drafting backups, and he's the starter. So I like Cordarrelle too. I don't have Dave Montgomery. I don't have Josh Jacobs. For all those out there who are assuming I do, I just have a smooth top half of the portfolio.
I think the Patterson case is pretty strong. I mean, everyone's treating Tyler Algier like they drafted him in the second round. He's a fucking 5th round running back. So
it's no play.
Yeah.
But I want to hear Gary's top exposure.
So is Dameon Pierce, man. Dameon Pierce is what, like 5th round also?
True.
True. If there's any position that those mid-round guys can just break through early, it's that. But yeah, my top overall position is a tight end, and it is Bob Tunyon.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I got like 19%. But I'm pretty smooth over too. I don't have anyone in the mid to high 20s.
Speak on that. Speak on the Tunyon love.
Yeah, I mean the 160s to me is just crazy for him. We have no idea really what that pass catching room is looking like in Green Bay. We know at least he has chemistry with Rodgers. Like the health is a concern, but he's almost never my tight end one. Right. I just think it's really cheap for the upside case there.
Yeah, multiple multi-touchdown games is in the range of outcomes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. Exactly.
Gary, are you a week 17 bro, or are you just draft the best teams, bro?
I am, but like I'm not as much as some of the influencers maybe. But it's definitely, I'm thinking of it. I pretty much have the schedule memorized, I think. But yeah, it's back of mind or front of mind depending on how the team's going.
All right. If you don't have week 17 schedule memorized, then you're not anywhere close to these nerds.
Gary, put your hands up like this so I can make sure you're not Googling anything.
Yeah.
Who did the Giants play in week 17?
Well, that's the bad one for me. I'm a Giants fan. We got the Colts.
Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna go harder. Go harder. Who did the Bears play?
Oh shit. Are they in
fraud.
division? They're not in division, right? The Packers play the
Pete.
Packers play the
No,
Vikings.
they-
It's the
they
Lions.
do.
It's
They
the
do.
Lions. It's Lions.
Yeah.
You got
yeah.
the line.
Washington.
Yeah.
Washington.
Pete, you
Yeah.
want me to ask you one?
Washington is.
I
like
mean,
a
I know
shitty- it's a
them.
shitty ass match.
Why do your eyes keep
Um,
glancing up at a monitor as you say
Washington.
that?
I do. I was just looking around at my exposures. I was excited to talk
Me?
about
Oh
my
no, I'm not. I
exposures.
do have a monitor here, but I don't have anything up there. I don't remember
All
watching
right.
off the top of my head. See, I'm a
Pete,
fraud. There
who
you
do
go.
the Titans play? Week 17.
That's Cowboys, right?
Okay. All right.
Who
do the
are
Jags
your
play?
exposures?
Jags play Houston.
Okay. All right. This guy's good. He knows his
Dude,
shit.
I've done way more drafts than you, bud. I mean,
No.
let's-
Wait.
How many drafts have
Hold
you
How
on.
done?
many you at?
Overzet. Give
No,
him week
actually-
16 and see, and you can stop this argument very quickly.
How
How
many have
many
you
drafts
done?
have you done? You've actually probably done more than me. I've done about 250 since contests
Yeah,
open.
buddy, you're
I'm
you're
at
in
exactly
minor
250.
leagues, bro. I'm at 340 teams.
Wow.
I mean, minor
It is,
leagues.
yeah.
But I'm
You know
doing.
what?
To be fair, I'm doing three mans. If you sort by,
Get the fucking 3-mans out of here. Those take like 4
I know.
minutes.
I agree. Go to filter 12 person. I'm at 215. So
What?
Fucking weak sauce.
215
my top exposures:
drafts?
Pollard, St. Brown, Robbie Anderson, Corey Davis. I used to get a ton of Mostert.
Yeah, do you
DJ
use the
Chark.
ETR rankings, bro?
Of course.
Gotta.
No, it's
Who has
just
better rankings
anyone
than
who
ETR?
has Robbie and Corey Davis is obviously using ETR.
And
right?
Pollard, I might have bumped up a little bit, but I was getting so much St. Brown before too. It was crazy to me. He's so good.
Pollard's my top running back also. But yeah, no, I have like George Pickens is like my number 2 because I was taking him in the 180s, 190s in June.
Yeah,
which
I used to
which
get
was
a
great.
decent bit of him.
So
All right. I'm
One other one that
trust
I'm
me,
ashamed of that I'm on the. I've not gotten CLV. That's another ETR pick that I just have way too much of. He's like my 3rd or 4th highest is Kenny Galladay. That could work out poorly.
We've
I'm
aggressively
starting to
bumped
get a
him
little
down.
concerned.
We've aggressively bumped him down over the last like week and a half, but still too high.
Yeah.
all right, we could go down a rabbit hole talking about
Yeah, I was
best
gonna
ball
say,
for
what was
hours
Gary
and-
supposed to talk about?
No, I wanted to
Your Brady
leverage-
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
go-
What I
let's
was gonna
get
say, I
back
love
to
the
this.
Brady. I mean, it's the same. You know, obviously, Jack, we met at the National. Like, obviously, my background is cardboard, and like, there's few things that are a safer investment, like in my opinion, short, mid, long term than goats, like true goats. So, you know, if you believe in this platform, it's one of the best moments, if not the best you could buy right now. So, good.
Yeah,
buy, in my opinion.
the Brady, like kind of, I don't want to say base, but the main Brady rookie, I think it's popped like 330, 350. It was just on auction, I think, and it's down. I think it sold for like 40, 46K.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first Brady legendary. There's 29 of them. It's a third of the price. So that had a little, at least numbers wise, that was a little bit of my thought process.
What I think one question I got in the Discord too, Gary, was someone had mentioned that you said on the podcast with Cody, which I highly recommend checking out, Establish the Collection with Gary and Cody on the ETR feed. It's an awesome listen. You said that you were, more bullish on all day kind of long term than Top Shot. I was curious kind of what factors went into that take for you.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of what Dave was talking about before. I mean, just kind of the thoughtfulness that they put behind the launch and the mint counts of these moments right off the bat. We're not seeing anything 30, 40,000 that can really water down the marketplace. It's a little bit of a slow roll. And, there's some things I don't like. Like there's a lot of inconsistencies around, why is Trey Lance's 3 badge, 49 out of 49, right? And other guys are out of 10,000. But at the same time, it adds some intrigue. And I think there's just a lot there. I mean, also for me, just personally, as much of an NBA head as I am, I work on the ETR NBA team as well. I play NBA DFS professionally. Football's my first love. And I just, to me, I think there's something about a football highlight, even though obviously like a posterizer in the NBA is super exciting. There's something about just the second I see a football play on my screen, I perk up. So to me, it's more interesting for me, but I like the overall way it's been rolled out. And then lastly, I just think there's something about quarterbacks specifically that is like the best possible investment you can make in collectibles. So, just the fact that we have that here.
I want to ask you on that, because I was thinking similarly. Pete mentions, right, how fantasy players, skill players are going to be at the forefront. We know from cardboard, like, you don't touch anything that's not a quarterback. Like
Yeah.
Aaron Donald's best card is selling for $19. So defense is definitely an afterthought. But even on the offensive side, if you're buying any skill player, it's retired players, right? It's just too much risk and not enough upside. How are you thinking about the all-day market from that front? That's why I think the quarterbacks are undervalued. Like I bought a Herbert for $4,500, a legendary of him, because they're close to like a Cooper Kupp Super Bowl moment and Aaron Donald. Like it's the hot thing and the recent thing, but we know from cards, like it's QBs or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the consumer base is not apples to apples with cardboard, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I definitely think there's more of an opportunity for skill position to be in demand on all day. I will say with cardboard, like we've seen over the last 2 or 3 releases, like the Justin Jeffersons, Jamar Chases have definitely had markets,
Yes.
but it's definitely a recency thing and like a fantasy type thing, because then you go back to like Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs, and those guys don't have crazy markets.
Right.
So it's just something about recency. So, my hope is that they will have more of a market on all day. And I think they will. Cause like also once you just put the visualization of, I don't know, man, DeAndre Hopkins catching the Hail Mary or something like that. Like it's just exciting moments that people can have emotional attachments to, whether it was they won a fantasy week that week or won a huge bet, or it's just their team or their player. Rather than just the stationary of a wide receiver card. So I do think that it's going to have more of a, roadway on all day, but I still, as you mentioned, I think quarterbacks are the place to look first, second, and third.
And I'll add this just for, play devil's advocate, not to you, to my original kind of thought. It's a much more liquid market. That's why sports cards, like a running back could get hurt week to week, right? So to invest in them long term, it's very dangerous. But if you know that, hey, I could get out of this at any point, I think that helps the other markets.
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
How much in cardboard, this feels like a dumb question, but how much in cardboard is the quarterback, prioritization because they're the most important player in football versus the longevity aspect and just not having quite the injury and shortened career risks of other positions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a big part of it. I don't know if you could weigh the two things. I think it's a marriage of the two, and like the quest for greatness. I think the quest for greatness is like what drives, the high end of the sports card hobby in general. It's like why LeBron and Giannis and all those guys in the NBA are going to keep, having very high floors. And like, I think the way people relate greatness on the football field is, 90% of the time through the quarterback lens. And if we can, prognosticate on a guy like Justin Herbert and think that this guy could be a top 5 or 10 guy of all time, that transcends football to a way. When he becomes a household name, there's few other positions on the field that are doing that. You mentioned like a Jerry Rice, like sure, he does that and his stuff sells well. But it's really within that quarterback range, but it's definitely why, positions like running back especially are just like, it's just nothing in the hobby space. I mean, people know at this point it's a 3 to 5 year window of production and that's it. So, there will be some hype around those guys early and then you can have quick flips on something like that, but nothing crazy.
The Super Bowl is a perfect example of that, right? Like Cooper Kupp is one of the greatest receiving seasons ever. No one's buying his rookie card. Aaron Donald is the most dominant defensive player maybe ever. No one's buying his rookie card. But Matt Stafford cards, take a nice hit up because they attribute a Super Bowl to the quarterback, even obviously it being a very team-heavy game. I also think you see it in NBA, right? Like big men. It's weird. Like big men don't sell well, and they actually do have a chance to, like if Joel Embiid and the Sixers win a title, Embiid will get that kind of quest for greatness. And Jokic is coming out back-to-back MVPs, but their cards just do not sell. Like Tyrese Maxey cards probably outsell Joel Embiid cards.
Yeah,
is that wrong, Gary?
It's probably close at the very least. Like their highest end Prism stuff is probably similar.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
So that's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's similar. Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I mean Bill Russell even before he passed away. Like those guys that their vintage stuff certainly had markets, and Shaq has a market to a certain extent, but his problem was that he was in like the junk wax era where things were overproduced. So yeah, I mean it's something about the flash, the guys with the ball in their hands, the quarterbacks that definitely hold the candle.
So Gary, where would you recommend for people, obviously all day is going to be rolling out pack drops. Do you think the most EV spot is going in the marketplace right now and targeting these quarterbacks? Is it as simple as that right now for people who are wanting to say, make a little bit of a bet on the platform before things really take off?
Yeah. I would say that's probably my number one option. Although I think that that All Day is still in a place where there's a couple of paths for positive EDV, and I think packs could be included in that. But certainly, I think, yeah, I mean, if you listen to the episode Cody and I were just talking about, we're really bullish on the Trevor Lawrence 3-badge rare moment right there. I think it was in the 800s when we were talking about it last week. I think it's in the 900s, but something like that where it's, got his debut, it's got his rookie badge, and it's a rare, it's out of 900. It's not out of what, Jack bought today, but it's still something that, if this guy hits what we can think he can, it's a card or a moment. Sorry, I'm going to always be terrible with that crossover. It's a moment that I think has a ton of room to grow. And I think it's just the same way that we are going, the immediate or the quickest room to delta, if that's what you're looking for, is going to be through quarterbacks most of the time. Obviously, if you have like a Jamar Chase jump on the scene, yes, Dave, you're absolutely right. It's really, really quickly, and they're winning people fantasy weeks. And I do think there's a relationship, especially I think in a consumer base like this, between fantasy success and success in this marketplace. But yeah, I mean, for me, and I'm a little bit more conservative in general too. So with my investments in this kind of stuff, especially on the All Day Top Shot platform, so I would be looking quarterbacks first.
So long term, my advice would be buy Tom Brady, like the $200, $300 moments, whatever they are. Like it's Tom Brady. Like it's very, think about like what a LeBron base was going for when there was only one, his first one, right? Goes for like, what's it go for on Top Shot? A few $1,000s right now. So Tom Brady, you've got a solid mint count of 10K. He's the GOAT. Short-term flips, just to draw a parallel to cards, all the football cards have kind of ran into the hype cycle. I don't necessarily think that's true with All Day because it's a different type of collector. But the second the season starts, I know for a fact that is what's going to happen. And I think last year, card people remember Kyler Murray through 6 games, most of his cards 2x, 3x, 4x, when he was leading the MVP race. And obviously that stuff can kind of fall apart quickly. But I don't think that has caught up to the All Day market. And then on the flip side, to protect yourself, all the moments aren't available yet, right? Like they're still releasing other players, they're still releasing different variations of players, and so there is that inherent risk of right now when there isn't X big player, maybe the market is a little softer. So I would just be conscious of that. But the QBs getting, like, if Fields has a good week 1, that moment goes up. If Lawrence has a good week 1, Zach Wilson, after Flacco retires next year, I think could be a good buy. So get in on the quarterbacks.
Yeah. What I really like about All Day right now is like there's such a wide range of entry points for any type of collector. And like I wrote down a lot of like moments that I'm bullish on as like in-season flips for skill position guys that are 3-badge that are like all under $20. And
right.
Jack had a great point that I'll list them off. You had a great point that like that happens in the cardboard streets. Like we are really reactive to what's happening on the field. And I think because this is still so new, like, and now we're out of beta, like hopefully there are more eyes on All Day this coming season. Like I definitely think there's a good chance that happens, at least to a certain extent.
There was a rumor that Khalil Herbert was, not a rumor, but Khalil Herbert was carted off, and the reaction in best ball was for him to drop multiple rounds. Like what happens, the first Thursday night game when who are some of the, I guess Gabe Davis could be the guy, or James Cook catches 2 touchdowns and everyone's like, oh my God, like James Cook is the new Saquon Barkley, he's winning rookie of the year, right? Like that stuff's going to happen. Remember Clyde Edwards-Helaire week 1? I guess right? Like that moment would have doubled.
The Mike White game last year was wild. I think there was like $500 Mike White sales on eBay after that, $1,000 Mike White cards going from one game. So yeah, people are very reactionary for sure.
So what do you tell someone like me who comes strictly from fantasy, doesn't have any background collecting cardboard? And when my first big purchase in the NFL All Day market was like through a dynasty football lens, where it's like, if I do a dynasty startup, I want to start with either Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. I fucking love receivers. These guys truly could be generational players. I go and buy a Jamar Chase rare because I'm a moment fish and don't go and buy the quarterback. Like what do you say to people like me? Is there a space for us to have a return on investment here, or do I just need to slap myself?
What's your time period? What's your time? That's the problem.
I haven't sold fucking shit on Top Shot, so apparently infinite.
Right.
No, I definitely think I 100% think there's a space for it. And I think even more so here than collectibles. So if there was a place to go make that purchase, I think you did it in the right space. And but again, the hype is really high on these last couple of year receivers, guys, even in the cardboard streets. I don't think Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson's a bad place to be at all over the next year or two while they're, the top 2 or 3 fantasy receivers out there putting up insane numbers, insane highlights. Their teams are performing well. I think there's plenty of room for that. And yeah, I mean, all the guys that I wrote down, I'll list off some of them now that I think are really interesting buys preseason, just in bulk, are skill position guys, hot fantasy names, mid-round guys, but guys that the second that they spike for a couple weeks, I anticipate these moments going from $15 to 20, 25, whatever, but there's room there for sure. So all the guys we've been talking about all season in best ball, Ramondre Stevenson, I think is my favorite moment under that right now. His is under his. So a lot of those 3 badges are out of 10,000. His is out of 8,000. And I think it's a $16 moment. And it's actually, I think right now the lowest price is below what the average sales been. Yeah. His average sales been around 19. I mean, that's a guy we're all really excited about. Reports coming out today that he could be in the mix for the three down role, that the Ty Montgomery hype might've been overblown. All that stuff's acting in his favor. And there's just a lot of those moments on the site. So, yeah, would I say I'm buying this Ramondre Stevenson moment and holding it for 4 years? No. But do I think at $16, it's a good place to be for this going into this coming season? Absolutely.
Part of why.
Oh, go ahead, Jack.
I was just saying part of why I think I saw in the comments, and it's a general consensus around why maybe people are more excited, for all day. Obviously, football coming back, first full season of all day, is you saying that, Gary, right? Is it going to go up, from 16 to 25, and that's a 50% gain, and that's a great Top Shot. It was 16 to 6,000, and anything short of that, and so people were so messed up mentally, and it feels of course there's crossover, but there's also a new, fresher collector base that has, I guess, more reasonable expectations. I think you're a fish, Pete, if you're holding either of those indefinitely. If you heard Gary said 1 to 2 years, perfect example, I think that gets used in cardboard a lot is Michael Thomas. No one was really buying Michael Thomas, but he was the best receiver in the league, and now he's being drafted in the 5th round of fantasy drafts just a couple years later. So I think that's the inherent risk with those guys.
Yeah, save the cap with Odell. People lost a lot of money on Odell.
Yeah, I bet.
But
yeah,
but it happens with the quarterbacks too. So I don't want to say people. At least there was something to place wagers on. Though people will right now, it's become a joke, but it was scarily a thing, is Kellen Mond. There were $20,000 Kellen Mond cards selling, and his own coach pretty much said I would cut him today if I could. So there's worse plays, but I just think do what works with the quarterback.
So one thing, Gary, you mentioned too, with this Ramondre moment, and this goes back to the whole idea of the collectible framework with the triple badges and the value that all day is kind of assigning on these versus the intrinsic coolness of the moment. So we just watched that Ramondre moment. It was fine. It's a decent play, breaks a few tackles, whatever. I assume you are putting a big premium in this triple badge stuff and what it means for the hierarchy of where this moment will rest on the site.
Yeah, for me, I put more weight on that, and I don't know if that's just my cardboard background, where I'm looking for rookie cards, I'm looking for rarity, I'm looking for specific refractors or something like that, right? So when I see, okay, this is a rookie and his first minted moment, and his all day debut, things that the platform is assigning value to the same way that Topps or Panini would be assigning value to a rookie card with a higher brand or whatever. I will be looking at that first. Now, obviously, there were times on the Top Shot site that I just loved the play and I wanted to get it because I love the play. I don't not assign value to that as well. But for me, I do put a little bit of a heavier weight on the rookie stuff.
Do you have any plays that you maybe even aside from the badge stuff that you think are just the coolest plays in the marketplace right now?
It's a good question. Man, I wish I did not come prepared with that. I wish I did. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I mean, there are a bunch out there, for sure. I don't. I know Cody and I were joking about we were looking at some, maybe it was Joey Bosa moment or something on the play, and it was great because it was like a Joey Bosa stop at the goal line, but it was better because it just slammed Drew Lock's head into the ground to stop the touchdown, and we were just laughing at that. But it's more stuff like that like can align to my player takes that are good plays that I think are fun. But yeah.
What are your thoughts on the kind of historical stuff? And we saw it play out a little bit on Top Shot with the run it back. Everyone always like clamors for it, but then it kind of depends on the scarcity and the rollout of how ultimately intriguing it becomes. Like, what have been your thoughts on the Brett Favre stuff, some of the other historical stuff they've released?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, I'm definitely interested in it for sure. And there's no like real comparison in the cardboard streets for that kind of thing either. I mean, there's reprints and things like that don't hold any value, but this is something completely different. Like it's NFTs, which are a brand new platform. It's going to still at the end of the day be the first version of a Brett Favre moment, and we'll get some more from great legends. And like I think just for that in itself will hold some value. I'm curious to see long term how it plays out side by side versus active players, because like I just don't know what would win out there, or if it will hold up to the same floor or ceiling, I guess, of those guys. But I'm definitely intrigued by it, and I like getting in on those pack drops for sure.
The Brett Favre thing is very interesting. Like I would be a seller of Brett Favre personally, not because like the play isn't cool, it's first legendary, all that stuff, but like he's a legend. But then there's plenty of more interesting legends, I think, to a lot of collectors. I don't know what you guys, I guess, how old was Brett Favre when he was like active in the league, like, you know, at his best? Like, what's the pulse on Brett Favre?
He was beloved. I mean, and he was a superstar. I mean, I feel like after Favre, it was like the Brady Manning run, but during Favre, I mean, you had Elway's twilight years. Favre was right there. Trying to even think who else would be like in the consideration for like the top quarterbacks. I mean, you had Aikman at the end with Dallas for his earlier years.
Yeah, I mean, he overlapped with Peyton, but like he was definitely in that middle ground between like Elway, Marino, and those guys, and then like, you know, Peyton's prime and all those guys. So I think and because he was such a gunslinger at the time, he played quarterback in a way that I think a lot of players didn't at the time. For sure, was beloved, obviously on a classic franchise. So yeah, I mean.
A good comp to him, honestly, is like Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think both those guys played pretty similar in a lot of ways. Mahomes has got a better trajectory at this point, obviously, but I think those are similar comps.
What's the cardboard comp of how those guys play who aren't maybe, you know, like top 10 players ever, but are Hall of Famers? But then on top of it, you don't have any further catalysts to make Brett Favre more relevant unless he sends more dick pics. Like, yeah, there's nothing that's changing where Mahomes could rip off 3 straight Super Bowls and just skyrocket his legendary status.
But we've seen in cards that post-career, like, things do matter. And I think Jennings talked about that, right? About like CJ McCollum in the NBA and how his post-career is going to matter. LeBron's post, right? If LeBron goes and tries to be president, for better or for worse, it will affect kind of the way and the perception of people. So in the cardboard
for that one, by the way. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, is a real shot.
Gary, correct me if I'm wrong. Like Favre, like, of course he has a market, but it's not top 10. It's not top 20. I don't know.
No. I mean, I think Rodgers' market is way higher than Favre, just to compare the two Packers quarterbacks. But no, I mean, you know, it's interesting. Like if guys are staying in the spotlight, I think that their cards post-career can still move a little bit. But someone like Brett Favre, who kind of just goes away to his ranch and sends dick pics or whatever, you know, I think unless something like that happens, or like he's in the national news, or the day he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, obviously that was 10 years ago or whatever at this point, and then the day he dies, as morbid as that is, like until those two things happen, somebody like him, like it's going to be pretty stagnant for most of their post-career.
Pete, I'm going to let you go. I know you have to get running here.
I got to bounce, but what do you guys think is going on with Tom Brady?
He's back. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's back now, right?
Do you know, honestly, Pete, I think you can relate. I think this guy was doing everything he can a little bit too much. And his Ashley was a little fed up. And he needed to take a little time away from doing the 3-mans and do a little quality time with the fam before the season started. I think that's what happened.
I really hope that there's not a I hope there's not a correlation there because I think you're right on, Pete. And we could see some news in the next couple of weeks. Just saying. But,
From your front or Tom Brady?
no, not from my front. But I'll leave you guys with that. A little bit of there could be some Brady news coming up, I think.
Okay. All right.
And you're not referring to Autograph's legendary drop, are you?
No, it's not Autograph's legendary drop.
As long as
I love the Brady call. I mean, Brady's the definitive GOAT. But
how much Brady do you have, Pete? On
Underdog? Underdog, not much.
Yeah, no, I have like 10%.
I think there might be something. I think Pete had a pretty strong read right there.
Oh boy, am I 10% too high? Wait,
we'll see. He's back.
Never doubt the EPR guys who have Schefter on speed dial when it comes.
This is a little different, but
okay.
Yeah. See you guys.
We'll let you go. We read between the lines. All right. All right. Tom Brady getting a divorce confirmed on Club Top Shot sources.
There you go.
So what, Gary, what are you most excited? Are you just kind of in accumulation mode right now and then want to see how things play out? Or are you really excited?
Pull up the market. Like let's look around while Gary gives us his takes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am. I mean, especially when Cody and I started prepping for this show. And to be quite frank, like I hadn't been, daily or even weekly, like in the marketplace. So we decided we were long overdue for an all day show. But then I saw and it unfortunately looks like we missed a little bit of a bottom early summer, but still think that there's so much room for a lot heading into the season. And maybe I'm just using my foundation and my background to know what I think. But if I see moments that I think are really use the cards in the cardboard space that I think are really affordable, 2 weeks out from a season, then I think we are a month or two away from seeing some real upswings on these for one great game. That's my time that I'm looking to buy. So yeah, for me, it's a buying market for sure. Right now and all day.
What's funny about that moment, Overzet, is we always like the Lawrence one you showed earlier, right? It's a throw. It's not a touchdown throw to Laquan Treadwell, and they lose the game 50-10. And then that Lamar play is obviously a great throw. That was the worst professional game he has ever played. He threw 4 interceptions on prime time. He was awful. They won the game, but it is interesting to think about how many people. I'm sure they didn't add his box score from the game. How many people care or know, or is it just because it was the first one?
Right. And that's what goes back to that.
Hawks.
That's what goes back to that thing of how much do people ultimately care? You have the moment, the context of what happened in the game, and then kind of what all day is assigning to it from an importance standpoint.
I think people only really care about that stuff if it was an absolutely legendary moment. I mentioned that Kyler Hail Mary, the Stephon Diggs play to end the playoff game. I think it has, and pretty much anything from that Chiefs Bills game. I think it has to be really standout moments that everybody remember for people to really end up caring about that stuff.
Yeah. What would be your ideal rollout for stuff? Because we've obviously we talked about it with Dave, with the scarcity and having a high bar to cross for curation and making sure these moments feel special. I mean, what would you like to see them do from a release standpoint to really make the value hold on these and to make it just fun to collect?
Yeah, I think the path they're on now is really strong. I don't know if it's sustainable to stay there, as obviously they hope to expand their customer base and also, just have more eyes on the marketplace in general as they put more moments on, as more players come onto the marketplace. I don't know if it's able to sustain at a max of 10,000 mint run. But if it is, I would love to see that. Obviously, I do think that we'll start to see an increase in speed in between pack releases now that we're out of beta or closed beta or whatever we just came out of. I think just keeping down this run, and I think just learning from Top Shot, let's not go to 30,000, moments. Let's not go to 40,000 moments. Let's stay within that 10. If you have to go to 20, if the demand gets too high, fine. But let's not really go past there. I think that's everything. And, what Dave had said earlier in the show was really encouraging to me, that they're really conscious of scarcity. Everything for a moment. That's everything for collectibles is scarcity. Hold on one second. I'll be right back.
You're good.
I thought, and I thought that note was great. And I just think like acknowledging that there's money in this was just so meaningful, because for a very long time, it wasn't about the money. They would push people away from the money, and they had to, because the prices were so outrageous, and the number, it was only money. It's the only thing that mattered. But knowing that like they're very conscious of it's a collectible, people are putting real money into this stuff, definitely made me feel more confident in the platform. I don't know, Gary, what do you think about, like, you say, how long are they going to be able to sustain, a 10,000 mint for? Like, why do you ever have to, like, breach that number? We've even seen it with Bored Ape, right? And the other side and all that. Like, once you open up this crazy supply, wouldn't it be better to just concentrate into 10,000 moment? Sure, like, I guess, so buy the next Tom Brady that comes out, or the one after that, or say, I think the beauty of it is, like, and I've mentioned this before, in cards, everyone's goal isn't really to flip. It's to flip to get into that card. So if you make the 10,000 Tom Brady, like if there's 8 million people on the platform and there's still only 10,000, it's like everyone's goal will to one day own one of those 10,000s. And 10,000 is a super high pop, right? In the grand scheme of things.
Big time.
So
the hope is that they don't, right? Like that's my answer to that. I just know how these things work, having been in this for so long. Like the supply and demand thing, the second the card industry broke, started blowing up over the last 3 or 4 years, like right before Luka's rookie year, we saw them print double, triple, quadruple the amount that they had in any time over the last like 15 years. And it hurts, it hurts the upside of these things. And I think 10,000 is a number that hopefully they put a lot of thought into, that they know that that's a safe number that they can go to, even if our site, which they hope to, blows up completely, that there's still enough out there for everyone to get their hands on without it getting absolutely out of control. But it's just the supply and demand thing. That's the only reason that it would ever actually go up. But my hope is that it doesn't have to. Hopefully that's like a nice number that they've put a lot of thought into, because I think it is. I think it makes sense.
What do I do with a guy? I mean, I've been drafting the hell out of this guy in leagues. I mean, you guys saw his play on Monday night, just him just fucking torching a safety, getting loose.
Did you hear his interview?
Yeah, the scared pedaling.
Scared pedaling. That was a great quote.
So good. I wrote him up for the newsletter tomorrow. I mean, tight ends in general are probably pretty rare in the card market of having value. I mean, Kyle Pitts is the ultimate unicorn. Like, what do you do with a guy like this?
Yeah, I mean, like Kelsey and Gronkowski have some love. Like, guys that are all-time greats do have some love. I mean, I look at him in the same vein that I look at like Chase and Jefferson, with maybe a little less upside, like just because he's a tight end. So I think it's still a fine short-term play. Like, he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can be from a statistical standpoint. Like, I don't hate it.
Pete, I think our brains work very similar. Like, this is the coolest player moment, legendary, like upside, right?
Sick.
What he could be, right?
Yeah.
And I just know from my history is like you look at like Trevor Lawrence and Lance and Herbert, like in the same range. And it's like, you can't expect, to see the same outcome. Your EV on Herbert versus Pitts is just going to be drastically different, which is a shame, right? Like, because I'd much rather own that than anything else. But from an investment standpoint, I think that's why it would be super cool if you put Pitts in like his best play of the season, a one-handed grab or whatever, in like a 10,000 mint, and you can buy a bunch of them, you can flip some of them, you can own some of them. When you make that size investment, in a player, you're thinking at it from strictly a money play. Unless you ship BBM3, then maybe you can just grab a Pitts legendary.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see, because like this is something else where it really differentiates from cardboard. Like what value will the actual rookie badge hold down the line compared to a debut moment on all day? Because Justin Herbert will never have a rookie on debut. Right. They can mint I guess they can mint a moment of a play from his rookie year and slap a rookie badge on it, but they won't have in his rookie year. That's never going to happen for him. So, which does it hold a premium just being his debut moment on all day? How do you compare that to a Kyle Pitts' like 3-badge legendary? And do you even bother comparing it because it's quarterback versus tight end? Like, these are all things that I think we need time to parse out, because like, we're just not going to know for a while to see what these things mean in the long term.
We've seen it a little bit in, I guess, Top Shot, right? It's LeBron versus Ja, Zion, and RJ.
Yeah.
Which is why I just go towards I think it does matter. Like, if Zion goes nuclear and is a top player, like, let's say it's Zion against, I'm trying to think someone like below LeBron, I guess like Durant. Like, if Zion got to the pedigree that Durant is, and he had that badge, like, who am I opting for? I think I am going for Zion. But like Kyle Pitts, his quarterback's Marcus Mariota. It's dangerous.
What are
man, I feel like I'm so underexposed on Pitts. Not to keep bringing it back to best ball, but that's what my brain is at all times these days. Yeah.
Is there any player you don't think you're underexposed on that is really good? Like, that is what I struggle with. Like, when people were joking today, my exposures evened out. I'm like, I think like there's just a bunch of great players in the top 30 of the draft that I'm like, I'm fine drafting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because sometimes guys fall in certain pockets of the draft. Like Amon-Ra is like a good example of a guy I love. I want more of him. Like, he was at a price where I was grabbing a lot of like Elijah Moore and Devonta Smith instead. And now he's got a little more expensive. And now I'm like, fuck, like I like this guy, but I wasn't breaking ties in favor of his direction. So you do have lots of guys like that.
Yeah, sorry, I lost you guys for a minute. Yeah, I mean, top end guys that I feel I'm good on, like on CMC. I got like 12% Christian McCaffrey, so I feel that's a solid number for the best player in football. But no, I mean, I don't know. I feel really good about exposures, but there's definitely guys like Kyle Pitts that I'm just like, fuck, I think I'm really underexposed.
Here's a question for you guys. Do you think, one of my big things, I went in on the Jokic Cosmic with Brian on lulls, he wins back-to-back MVPs. The moment doesn't really budge. Do you guys see player performance in NFL affecting NFL all day marketplace more so than it did with NBA?
I think it will. Because it's weekly. And it's a shorter amount of time of the year, especially for the first half, or at least first like 6 weeks of the season. It has all the attention on it. Which is kind of also part of the reason that maybe you saw those Kyler movements so much in the cardboard streets. Like it's really pre-NBA when people's attention start to be split. But yeah, I mean, I do think it will definitely more than Top Shot, just given the first of all, the amount of attention on the NFL, the way it's covered by the media, but also just the week in, week out nature of it. I think it has a better chance of being affected by on-field performance.
I don't think Top Shot had a good opportunity to be evaluated on player performance. It was, you could buy Ish Smith and you're up 4,000%. And then if you bought Jokic at the top and then it came all the way down, it had nothing to do with performance. With the currency of the market, I would say 1,000% player performance. That's why I say buy the quarterbacks you think will have a strong first quarter of the season. If you're looking to make some gains, they could introduce, 10 new factors, flash challenges, mess with the market, all that stuff. But player performance will, and I think Gary's idea with like finding those $20 guys, 3 Badgers, cool play, like that stuff will run. The fantasy superstars should run at least a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of those guys. I just wanted to like rattle off other ones like along with DeAndre. So Kadarius Toney was one that Cody and I bought also on the show on last week. I think he was like, I don't know, $14, $13. Same thing though. Like 13 goes to 20 easily, right? If he hits the fantasy hype that everyone thinks Kadarius Toney can hit, 13 goes to 18, 20, whatever. There's room. Like him, Elijah Moore is in the exact same range. I don't know what to think about that Jets offense, but I at the very least think he's got a chance at some spike weeks, right? So like there's
said you're a Giants fan, right?
Yeah. Oh, the Kadarius Toney moment's him throwing as well, which is funny.
Yeah, right. That counts as a quarterback moment.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then like other guys that are cheap, like Pat Freiermuth is really cheap. Rondale Moore, Kenneth Gainwell, Khalil Herbert, all these guys that are like under $15 that I just think are worth speculative ads. Like you don't even have to be buying a ton of these. You could spend $100 and get 8 to 10 moments of some of these guys. And it's just it's a interesting little, speculative investment heading into the season that, you hit it on the right week, you can make some money. Or if you just like holding it and you really believe in their 2-3 year window of being, stud position players or skill position players, and go for it.
Yeah, because what you're describing is like what I actually want, which is the on-field performance changes things. Like if you're telling me that I could go in the lab and look at the best starting schedules for teams, who has the easiest schedules for the first 4 weeks, find my favorite players within that cohort, make some bets, and know that the market is going to react accordingly. Like if the market actually functioned like that and had that level of liquidity, that sounds very fucking fun to me. But I've just been burned with that mentality on Top Shot and that not working, that I'm hesitant.
Which is why I would push these cheap moments to try it with, right? We don't know how it's going to be yet, but like at least we know these guys are talented, that the fantasy community likes, that like it's a perfect test case almost. And we could see how it goes.
If you could buy and sell in bulk, I think that would really help correlate to market performance, right? Treat it as if it's a stock market. Like if I could buy 10 Fryer Muths, right, his base moments, and then someone put in a buy order and I could bulk sell them for 15 after a few good weeks, I think that would really, really help. I don't think we see that anytime soon.
Yeah,
but Mojo is doing something similar. Have you guys heard of Mojo? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
So it's like a stock market for the players. I think they're launching in New Jersey. They've been teasing like pricing. So they are actually the sports book in the case, and they create the price. And then it's traded on an algorithm, which is a lot like fantasy correlation. It's all skilled players. It's really interesting. And so like past performance matters, but also it's like it projects out their future. So I'm really interested to see, could Top Shot, match something like that using the collectibles as shares of players, or is Mojo actually going to figure it out with like that? To me is one of the dreams, right? Like trading these guys on a week-to-week basis.
For sure.
Yeah. Do either of you guys have, so I actually, I waited till Dave was off on this one. I lined up for the pack drop. I was barely in the queue. I was driving around doing stuff. I had like a glitch in my queue thing. I went to get the pack. It said it expired. I couldn't get back in. So I'll be in touch with NFL All Day support. All that way to say, do either of you guys have a pack from this most recent drop?
I do not. I was in it and I ripped it already. If I knew I was coming on, I would have 100% saved it for you.
I am so sorry for that.
No. I don't need to, no. I wish I did.
I also had that issue, Pete, but then it ended up working. I got a pack. It did that weird thing where like you claim it and then it stalled on the screen and then it already opened it. But I got the Lawrence 3 badge. So I was
did?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. I didn't, but what is it? It's like, it's $60 or something.
Oh, there's the rare.
I didn't get the rare. I got the base.
Yeah.
Or maybe not 3 badge.
The 3 badge is the rare, but I think there's the 2 badge, whatever. That's the base.
Yeah, I got a couple of badges.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you got some badges.
I got Lawrence.
Yeah, I got a Justin Fields, the regular 10,000.
I do have one in my, apparently I didn't open a super wild card weekend pack here. So we can close on this in a second, but anything else kind of from, browsing the marketplace, things that people should keep an eye out for, stuff you're excited about?
No, and like I know this is stuff you guys hit on a lot, but like if this does win out, and like we're all hoping that it does, like if you're in the streets like Jack was able to do today, like the high end stuff I think is really a good place to be. Like, and I don't say that just trying to pump all day or whatever, but like if NFTs went out in the end and if ultimately this is the future of collectibles, or at least has a place alongside cardboard, like this Trey Lance moment, for example, where for whatever reason of all the quarterbacks, he got the legendary of his first 3 badge. Like, yeah, $8,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. If that guy turns out to be a top 10 quarterback for 10 years, right? Like that's not a lot of money. So like, I think I like what I really like about it is that there's room for everyone. Like if you want to get involved with this with your kids and buy $5 moments, go for it. If you want to take speculative investments, you also have that room.
That actually brings me up to another question for how this translates in cardboard, because guys like Trey Lance and Jalen Hurts are very interesting cases in that they could legit be top 3 fantasy quarterbacks, and the general public would still think they suck based on how the season goes. Like Trey Lance could rush for 1,000 yards, have a shit ton of interceptions. People who watch First Take thinks he sucks. People who play fantasy think he's God's gift to man.
Right.
Where do these guys fall? Jack, I see what you're doing. Where do these guys fall then in how people treat their moments in that case? Like if Trey Lance finishes as a top 3 fantasy quarterback, but has a mixed bag, are we going to end up, holding the bag on his moments?
Yeah, Jack, I'm curious your take on this too. Like for me, when I was walking around the National, the player that was asked the most for me when I was trying to sell things to people was, do you have Jalen Hurts? So like,
really?
Yeah. And I don't know if it was something about being near Philly.
Or we're a little close to Philly.
We were very close to Philly for sure. There's the same speculation in fantasy and cardboard, but you're right though. Like the boomer type of people that are just sitting around watching NFL Live every day that are just going to try to tell you that, Jalen Hurts stinks because the Eagles are 500 and he throws a couple picks here and there or whatever. Like those people aren't the people that are necessarily buying cards. I don't think, at least not too into moments and cards. So like, I think there's more of a crossover between fantasy success and this stuff than not, but certainly like there is some room for there. I guess the floors are lower on these guys that might not be great real life quarterbacks, but great fantasy quarterbacks, if that makes sense.
So you can still there's still upside on those players. Like I think Lance and Hurts are undervalued, but they will not be looked at as the traditional, which now traditional is like more so just like a pass first quarterback, right?
Pocket
I think
passer,
that's what
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No, not pocket, right? Like Allen and Mahomes aren't pocket passers, but they are passing quarterbacks. And when you think Lance, Lamar, and Hurts, you think they're rushing quarterbacks who can obviously also throw. And so at the National, I made 2 massive Lamar buys because I said his NT to 99 was 12 grand and fucking Josh Allen's was 70 grand, and they've accomplished virtually the same thing. But we also had to look in the mirror and say, well, I think Lamar's undervalued. It doesn't really matter what we think. Like the market is all that matters. And so I do think potentially a different market in all day, but it does. And it's because of the longevity thing. A lot of that has people, even though it's been proven rushing mobile quarterbacks are actually less injury prone and all this, like no one cares. They want the Justin Herberts who look the part of the traditional longevity, big arm type quarterback. So I think there's value into investing in Lance and Hurts and them having, like Kyler was a perfect example of that. But then Kyler's also a perfect example of why maybe they aren't the long-term holds. Like play them as fantasy pieces and not like your long-term investments.
Yep. I agree with that.
All right, Jack, any other final words for you here before we do a walk-off pack?
Gary, do you know anything about the celebration packs, Series 1, Release 1?
Yeah, I don't know much, but I got an email about it that I would qualified for it or something like that. I don't know what
I have 4 of them, but I don't know if they're worth like spending.
Actually, I haven't even checked out my pack library or whatever. I might have something like that in there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, my final words would be I'm definitely excited about all day. It feels like a decent place. If you want to play player performance and want to mess around, there are good entry points. Don't overthink it too much. Buy quarterbacks, buy high upside players like that. Don't buy defense, unless you like the moments and you just want to collect that stuff. Don't try and search for the utility. Like from a strictly monetary play, buy the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. And I think that's your best strategy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about heading over there. It's like I'm in so deep in the best ball streets. I have strong convictions on so many of these players. I might do kind of the Gary idea of going, whether it's the Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore, second year breakout type guys, making some conviction plays, stacking, 10, 20 of them and seeing if we can hit a nice little run. That sounds like a fun time to me.
Right. I mean, you do 25 and it's one big dog entry, so it's true.
One thing that I think is interesting about this whole thing, and you don't want to be trading on leverage or credit or any of that stuff. Like make sure you have the money when you're buying this stuff. But the difference, right, in playing this stuff versus a weekly prop bet, or, you take a stacked parlay, same game for the week, is like, I wish I could make the bet that Justin Herbert's moment will go up $1,000 without having to put down $5,000. And that is probably holding it back at least a tiny bit. There's more entry points if they made it, like that. But that's just my final thought on like,
you have more outs.
Stuff.
You have more outs too, right? So like, say you buy something, you're thinking, okay, this guy's got the freaking Lions week 4, like that's my out. Like, I think they're going to be up huge by then, and it doesn't work out. Okay, whatever. You bought a $50 moment, you can hold it a little longer. Hopefully, at some point over the next 12 weeks, like you'll be able to take your out at that point too. Where if you have a 1 week prop bet, you lose. Right. So.
And Gary, what's your guys' schedule? Like I've mentioned a few times, if you guys aren't subscribed to Establish the Collection over there, a great podcast that Gary does with Cody Main, the niche sports virgin king at ETR. Anything else that people should be looking out for?
Yeah. No, Cody and I have been doing it for a little over, or like almost a year and a half now. We're grinding preseason over at ETR. It's been a lot of fun. We record once a week, usually Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and we're usually out by Wednesdays or Thursdays. It's just Establish the Collection. You can get it anywhere. You get podcasts pretty much. We're on YouTube too. They just spun us off to our own YouTube channel. So if you can throw us a subscribe, like over there, that would be great. Trying to get that thing going. But appreciate you guys having me on, and been a lot of fun.
I didn't know you guys had your own YouTube. I'm going to drop that in the link now.
Appreciate
Only 45 subscribers. Let's get this to 100 by the end of tonight. Just drop that in. Establish the Collection. They got the thumbnail team. The ETR thumbnail team is on it.
Yep, they're working it. Absolutely. Same people, new channel.
All right, guys. Let's do a walk-off pack here. We appreciate you guys hanging out for this special NFL all-day themed episode of Club Top Shot. It was great to get we hadn't seen Pete in a while. We hadn't seen Mike in a while. Andy still, of course, on his European work trip. 3-month work trip. I should also plug for Andy. Him and Dee's just launched a new podcast. This is part of it's almost an NFT token gated podcast. I think it's called We Do a Little. I think, is that how it ends? Jack, did you see their podcast?
I saw that they did it. Talk a little NFT. We're NFT pod. We're a little.
I'm botching the name. It's obviously on Andy and Deez's podcast feed. Excited to check that out. But they did a cool thing where it was like, I think it was literally like $20 of ETH to get access to the full season of podcasts, which seems like a small price to pay to get access to Andy and Deez talking NFTs. So big moves for Andy overseas. Yeah, We Do a Little is the name of the podcast. And we do a little of this pack opening here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't get us in the mood. Yo, what up? It's DJ Pete Overzet. Welcome to the club. We didn't think things were going to get popping tonight, but it's about to get lit. Behind door number 2, it's a 3-pointer. 13-25, Kevin Durant.
Let's go.
We're going to get a LaMelo. We're going to get a Luka. We're going to get a LeBron. Victory reveal. Let's go. God damn it. I don't need another layup. To the window. To the wall. The De'Aaron Fox stripped down my ball. 293 assists. Let's go. 293. Everybody get their drinks. Let's get a cheers tonight before we open up these 9 packs. All right, now the real sweat. Did I claim this in time to be able to open it? We do have the chat subscribing to Establish the Collection on
I really
YouTube.
appreciate it. Thanks so much.
I don't even remember. Do you guys remember? I mean, obviously it was from Wild Card Weekend. I don't even remember when I got this pack.
Yeah, I think it's Kelsey. Kelsey was I got a Kelsey moment.
Okay. All right. Let's see what we got. We appreciate you guys hanging out. This will be a walk-off pack. We will be back next week as usual. What do we get here?
Okay.
Little Elijah
Okay.
Mitchell.
Okay.
All right. Elijah Mitchell dealing with a little soft tissue injury right now, but nothing.
I have that moment. It sells all right. I think it's like, I don't know, $60, $80, something like that.
Seriously?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
$60 maybe.
All right. How
in
rich?
the vault though, Overzet.
Put it.
It
goes in the vault. Till I flip it for a Kyle Pitts moment. Okay. And a Gronk. How's this moment doing, Gary?
That I don't know. But we like it.
Gronk spike. Gronk spike.
This feels like a nice pack. Feels like a nice pack. I like this. All right. And our final moment here. Who did I get? Oh, McKinnon.
Oh, what do you mean?
My best ball shares like
I
that.
got a lot of Jerick McKinnon best ball shares as well. So
That's
we're
right.
Yeah.
All right.
fans.
For Jack, for Gary, for IBL, for Pete, for Dave Feldman, thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys in the NFL All Day Marketplace.